I never thought coming home early would change my life forever. As I walked into my bedroom, I heard the unmistakable sounds of betrayal. There she was, my wife, with my own brother in the bed I paid for. My heart shattered. Rage boiled inside me. I kicked them out, both of them. 4 years of my life wasted on lies. I found solace in Kate, Trisha's sister. She brought hope and a chance at real love. But the scars remain. Can I truly move on, or is revenge the only answer? September 7th, 2007. Rob came home earlier than he had told his new wife. They had been dating for 4 years before he proposed 3 months ago. He was eager to spend his time off with his wife. As he quietly set his bags down, he heard a strange noise from the bedroom. He planned to surprise her, imagining what she was doing while he was away. But then he heard her voice. "Oh, yes, that's it," his wife Trisha moaned from their bedroom. In the house he bought with his own money, she was with someone else on their bed. "I want to feel you even when Robbie gets home." Rob felt a painful anger rise in him. How long had she been cheating on him? He worried about what he might catch from her. He had to get tested. His anger grew hotter when he saw it was his brother with Trisha. The brother he had made excuses for because he couldn't make the trip for some reason. Now Rob knew why. It was to be with Trisha while he was at work. He grabbed a vase and threw it at his brother, hitting him on the head. "Robbie!" Trisha gasped in shock as Rob stood over them, furious. "Baby, I can explain." "Shut up. Tell me, how long have you been with my brother? A month? A year? The whole 4 years we've been together? You know what? I don't even want to know. I've been working hard to give us a good life, and what have you been doing? Cheating on me, and who knows with how many others. Robbie, please, You know nothing! Get out of my house and take him with you!" Rob yelled, storming out of the room to control his rage. "Robert! Leave!" Rob snarled at his brother, who was holding a bloody towel to his head. "We're family by blood, but you are no brother of mine. Never come back here, and you will hear from my lawyer," he said, glaring at Trisha. "I'm sorry. Save it. If you didn't love me, why did you marry me? You sure liked spending my money. Your stuff will be on the lawn. Better get it before trash pickup, since he can't even close a simple deal without help," Rob said, slamming the door in their faces. October 23, 2008. Rob lay face down on his couch. Empty Jack Daniels bottles lined the coffee table. Since his marriage ended, Rob spent his free time drinking. His life had taken a dark turn, but he wasn't reckless. When word got out about the divorce, none of his family took his side. They wanted him to be happy for Trisha and Brad. But their happiness had ruined his life, and he couldn't forgive them. Rob groaned from a headache as someone knocked on his door. He fumbled for something to throw, hoping they would leave. The bottles only made his head hurt more. He turned his head when he heard the door open. "It smells like a bar in here," Janet, his older sister, said as she walked in. She had no right to enter without his permission, and he didn't want any family here. She held her shawl with her elbows, keys and purse in hand. "Robbie, you're not even dressed," Janet groaned, standing by the couch in her formal dress. "Why would I be? It's my day off, and why are you in my house?" Rob asked, trying to keep his voice down to ease his headache. He glanced at her dress, wondering why she was dressed up. "Well..." Janet's cheeks turned red. Over the past year, she saw Rob drift away from the family. He only came into the office for mandatory meetings and scheduled clients, preferring to work from home. Their parents didn't mind as long as his work didn't suffer, and it hadn't. Clients were happy, and he met his monthly goals. Janet missed his laughter in the office, and her kids missed him, especially since he skipped Thanksgiving and Christmas. "Don't you remember what day it is? Didn't Brad send you an invitation?" "Oh, was that what it was?" Rob asked coldly, scratching his chin and feeling his stubble. "I burned it." "Robbie," Janet sighed, "I get it, but is that all?" "Thanks, but I'd rather sleep more," Rob said without interest. "Please come with me. Matt and Debbie miss you," Janet begged her brother. "Then bring them here. I'm not leaving this couch for a few more hours," Rob replied, determined not to go to the wedding. "Robbie, can't you?" "Don't," Rob said coldly, his eyes sharp on his sister. "Fine. If you want to stay here and drink, go ahead," Janet said, throwing up her hands. I really wish you would stop, though, she added, looking at the many bottles. Well, when you find Mark with another woman in your bed while you're out covering for him, then you can judge if I've drunk enough, Rob said, pouring himself another drink. Otherwise, leave my house. Very well, Janet said before leaving and slamming the door behind her. Rob took a sip of the brown liquor. What they didn't know was he was looking for a new job, a job that would take him far from this city, this state, and his family. But jobs were hard to find, especially in his field. He could sell anything, but his expertise was in robotics, and those jobs were rare. So he had to wait until a good offer came in, and when the pay was right, he would leave without looking back. Rob dried his face after coming out of the bathroom. He couldn't drive because he still felt the alcohol, but at least his head wasn't pounding anymore. He threw his wet towel back into the bathroom. He no longer used the master bedroom. It felt dirty to him after what happened there, and he suspected it had happened many times before. So, the day after, in a fit of anger, he borrowed a friend's truck and burned the mattress in a field. Now the room was just for storage. He still used the master bath because it would be wasteful not to. Rob sat on the bed he had bought after kicking Trisha out, in his underwear, thinking about what to do for the rest of the day. He couldn't drink because he had work the next day and needed to outshine his brother in sales. A wicked smile formed on his face as he saw his phone's alert light blinking. The screen light shone on his freshly shaved face. He frowned at the 3 voicemails waiting for him, one from his mother, father, and his ex-wife, along with several texts. He ignored his parents' calls and deleted their texts, not caring if they were disappointed he didn't show up. His mother called again just as he was about to put the phone down. What? Rob answered. What? No. Hi, Mom. How was the wedding? You didn't even bother to show up? She snapped. I'm too tired for this. Complain to Dad, Rob said, ending the call and tossing the phone behind him. Strangely, he felt a bit lighter. As he pulled on his jeans, his phone vibrated again. Hello? Rob answered. Robbie, don't hang up. His ex-wife's voice came through. What? Rob yelled, exasperated. Don't you dare take that tone with me, Robert, Janet growled over the line. Then why are you calling? My reports aren't due until next week. My quota is met. What's the problem? Rob asked angrily. Brad and Trisha want to ask you something. It's very important. You need to listen, Janet urged. Whatever they want, I want nothing to do with it. Rob heard her pass the phone to someone else. Robbie, please listen. I'm pregnant, and Brad and I want you to be the godfather, Trisha said, hoping this would mend things. I refuse. Think about what you're saying, Robbie. Janet's voice came back, clearly on speaker. He heard his family's chatter in the background. I gave you my answer. I won't be responsible for their child, Rob said, smiling at the shocked gasps. Let someone else do that. Robert, that's cold, Brad said as Trisha cried. No colder than you sleeping with my wife while I was out of town, Rob said, not caring who knew the truth. He laughed as he ended the call and tossed his phone on the bed, finishing getting dressed. Rob grabbed his keys after putting on his shoes and left his phone behind. He didn't want any distractions while he drove to his secret spot he found a few months ago. Evening was setting as he sat on the porch of his house, legs up on the railing, watching his neighbors go about their day. He got back over an hour ago and wasn't surprised to see numerous missed calls. His peace quickly faded when 2 cars screeched to a stop in front of his house. Great, now what? Rob muttered as he saw his family getting out of their cars, slamming doors angrily. Where have you been? His father growled, stomping up the driveway. Do you know how worried we were? His mother echoed, matching his father's pace. Well, here I am. Want to tell me why you're ruining my lawn? Rob asked, indifferent. He noticed Trisha's sister, Kate, was with his sister. Hello, Robert, Kate said sweetly, pushing her brown hair behind her ear. She looked at him through her glasses with soft blue eyes. When Rob first met her 5 years ago, she was only 17. Back then, some thought she looked too skinny, and her figure wasn't much to talk about. When he and Trisha started dating, he often found Kate alone, crying. He would cheer her up, saying that not all guys were jerks and that someone would find her beautiful. He did, even if she was thin. It didn't matter to him. She was still pretty. Over the years, she had grown into her adult body. "Hello, Kate, it's been a while," Rob said with a warm smile, ignoring his father's question. "I was hoping to see you at the wedding," Kate said, blushing and looking shyly at him. "Can you blame me for not going?" Rob asked, watching her shake her head. "Don't ignore us, Robert," his father barked. "Why not? You ignore my feelings all the time. See what happens when you push aside those who've done nothing wrong, but praise those who have," Rob said, looking down at his father. "What would you have us do, Robert? Push Brad out of the family because of what happened?" His father trailed off, seeing the look in his son's eyes as he sipped his beer. "We understand you're angry and you have every right to be," his mother said, trying to calm things down. "It's been over a year. Don't you think it's time to forgive your brother? No way. Robert, watch your language. This is my house, my property, and you came here without asking. If you don't like how I talk in my own home, there's your car," Rob said, pointing to his father's expensive sedan. "No one's keeping you here." "Robert, please," his mother pleaded. "Just think about it. We miss you. It's not the same without you." "Well, you made your choice. If you don't like the consequences, that's on you, not me. I wasted 4 years on a woman who never loved me. 4 years. 4 years while she fooled around in my own house. And I'm treated like I'm the one who broke all the rules while you all worship her and Brad just to keep the peace. Well, you know what? Forget the peace." "Fine, Robert. I hope you change your mind," his mother said, holding her husband's arm. "You're on a month-long leave. Do what you want, but when the month is over, I want you at the table for Thanksgiving," his father said, thinking he could bully his son into forgetting his pain. "And if I'm not?" Rob challenged. "Then don't bother coming to Christmas dinner," his father said, turning sharply and heading to his car, muttering that he couldn't control his youngest son anymore. "Wasn't planning on it," Rob said to his father's back. "Please don't say that, son. Go somewhere, relax, and come back home. I really would like it if you were at Thanksgiving dinner," his mother said, gently squeezing his hand before joining her husband in the car. "I guess nothing I say can change your mind, huh?" Janet asked, looking up at her brother. "Not a bit," Rob said, taking another sip of his beer. "All right, but Robbie, you know we love you. Don't make us choose between you or Brad. We aren't on either side. We're just as upset about what Trisha and Brad did to you. But don't hold it against us because we want to keep the family together," Janet said, turning to leave. "I'll wait in the car," she said, touching Kate's arm lightly. "So?" Kate placed her hands behind her back and walked shyly towards his porch. "How have you been?" "Been better, why?" Rob asked, stepping off his porch to face her. "Well," Kate's heart raced, and her cheeks flushed as Rob stood before her. Ever since he cheered her up when boys harassed her, she watched her sister waste a good man. Now it was her turn. She wasn't going to miss this chance. She wanted to show him that she wasn't like her sister. She would always be true to him. She kept herself free just for this moment. Sure, she dated, but the parts that mattered, she wanted him to care for. Kate always dreamed of being the only person to be that close to someone in such an intimate yet innocent way. "I've been thinking." She ran a popular women's underwear company, something classy and affordable. Her products were just as nice as the famous brands, but at a better price. You could get a whole set from her for the price of one fancy bra elsewhere. Being so close to him made her feel like a teen again, longing to hear his voice and be near him. "Since I'm in town for a while, maybe we could spend some time together," Kate said, the evening breeze gently lifting her hair as she saw the lights reflecting in his eyes. "Like a date?" Rob asked, clearly interested. He had been approached by others since his divorce, but none were as special or beautiful as Kate, at least in his eyes. "If you want," Kate said, feeling her face getting hot. She felt silly about calling it a date. "Get a grip, Kate. You've been on dates before," she told herself silently. "Sure. When would you like to go out?" Rob asked, feeling like a teenager asking someone out for the first time. "I heard there's an orchestra playing tomorrow night." She stepped closer, letting him feel the warmth of her body and smell her light perfume. "How about you pick me up at 7?" Kate asked, her fingers lightly touching his before she held his hand. "Sure. Where are you staying?" "Do you remember my parents' place?" Kate asked, closing the small gap between them. Of course, Rob nodded. Great, Kate said, smiling. I can't wait, she whispered, as her cheek brushed against his. She shared her private phone number, one that very few had. 40 minutes later, Kate giggled as she fell backward onto her old bed. Her heart was pounding. She couldn't believe it went so well. She thought Rob would say no. Her legs kicked in the air, causing her jeans to pull tight. She was proud of her fit body. Kate, what has you so excited? Her mother asked, standing in the doorway of her old bedroom. I got a date, Kate said excitedly, dancing a little in place. Oh? A smile appeared on her mother's face. She was happy to see her daughter so happy, knowing how tough the past few years had been. And who is the lucky guy? Robbie, Kate said dreamily, not noticing the look in her mother's eyes. I want you to stay away from that man. He's trouble, her mother said sternly. Who do you think you're talking to? Kate said coldly. Who I spend time with is my choice, Mother, not yours. Kate, don't use that tone with me. That man caused problems for your sister. So? Trisha brought it on herself. What did you think would happen? She lied and used him. After all that, you think he would just agree with everything? Kate said, slipping into her tough business persona. He could have been more polite, her mother huffed, crossing her arms. Do you know how hurt your sister was? Whatever pain she felt is nothing compared to the 4 years she lied to him. She got what she deserved, Kate said, crossing her arms too, standing up to her mother. I don't approve. It's not up to you. Fine, if you want to waste your time on him, her mother said, throwing up her hands as she walked out. Music from her teen years played softly in the background. Kate's hips swayed as she touched the top of the sewing machine that started her business. She looked out the window, thinking about the uncertain future. She hoped they could have a future together. She was willing to make it work, unlike her sister who only cared about his money. Kate imagined what it would be like to carry their child, to hear little feet running through her condo, watching Rob play with their kid. Wrapping her arms around herself, she sighed, looking forward to tomorrow night. Rob woke around 7:30, hitting his alarm. He had forgotten to turn it off. Rolling over, he pulled the sheet back up, planning to sleep more. But then there was a knock on his door. He sat up quickly, hearing another knock. Rushing to the door, he grabbed his robe, pulling it on and tying the belt loosely. He wasn't about to get fully dressed just to send someone away and go back to bed. Who? Rob's voice trailed off as he opened the front door. Rob didn't expect to see Kate at his door that morning. She stood there, looking beautiful with her long dark hair in a ponytail and a single curl touching her cheek. Her blue eyes sparkled kindly. She wore hardly any makeup because she didn't need it. Rob's eyes wandered down her teal sweater, noticing how it fit snugly. Her jeans hugged her hips and legs tightly, showing off her figure. He nervously closed the door a bit to hide his reaction to her appearance. Then he noticed the bag she was holding. Morning, Robbie, Kate said, her heart beating fast. She hadn't expected him to answer the door in just a robe. She wondered if he was wearing anything under it, feeling herself blush at the thought. Morning. Why are you here so early? Rob asked, keeping the door half closed to hide his state. He felt embarrassed as he tried to adjust himself discreetly. I thought we could have breakfast together, Kate said, lifting the bag from the bakery. Unless you don't want to? She sounded a little sad, thinking maybe she had been too forward. Of course I do. Just let me put on some clothes, Rob said with a smile. Really? Kate's face lit up with joy. I set everything up outside so we can enjoy the morning sun, she said, smiling widely. I'll be quick, Rob said, feeling his heart race. It had been a long time since anyone made him feel like this. He was curious about where it could lead. Rushing to his room, he quickly picked out clothes, wanting to look decent. He ran a comb through his hair and sprayed a bit of cologne, hoping Kate would appreciate the effort. Kate waited on the porch, feeling excited. She had set up a small table with croissants, fresh fruit, cream cheese, and orange juice. She could hear her heart pounding as the doorknob turned. Rob stepped out, and she caught the scent of his cologne. Her mind went blank for a moment as the morning sun highlighted his figure. She watched him with a warm smile as he pulled out the patio chair. I hope I didn't keep you waiting, Kate, Rob said, sitting down. No. Kate stuttered, clearing her throat. Not at all, she said, trying to hide her blush. I hope you'll like what I brought, she said, showing him the food. I'm sure I will, but... It's the company that makes the meal special, Rob said, seeing Kate's cheeks turn pink. Oh my, Kate whispered, feeling her heart flutter. Shall we? Rob asked. He was glad Kate seemed to enjoy his playful comments. So, Kate, what have you been up to? Last I heard, you went to New York during college, he said, starting to eat a croissant. Oh? Kate perked up. Her focus had been on Rob. I started a women's clothing line, she muttered, her bangs swaying as she played with her food. She shivered when she felt Rob's hand cover hers. That's amazing, Rob said, his thumb gently brushing her hand. Hearing his praise made Kate feel warm inside. Her parents never really praised her, so Rob's kind words meant a lot. A sense of comfort spread through her as his hand stayed on hers. Thank you, Kate whispered, feeling happy. Kate gently touched his wrist, feeling his heartbeat race. She liked knowing she made him feel the same way he made her feel. So, what have you been up to since you and my sister parted ways? Any women I should watch out for? She asked with a teasing smile. Are there offers? Sure. Did I accept? No. I get it. What Trisha did was tough to move past, even if people tell you to forget, Kate said softly, her thumb brushing his knuckles. Maybe if I play my cards right, I can convince you to visit me in New York, she added shyly, tucking her hair behind her ear. Maybe. Rob nodded, curious to see where this would lead. They laughed while talking over breakfast. Kate loved how his eyes never left her as she told stories about her time in New York. She watched him drink orange juice and eat melon. She enjoyed their peaceful breakfast, imagining what it could have been like if her sister hadn't dated Rob. Trisha was always selfish growing up, but now her mistake was Kate's chance. Kate wanted to show Rob how he should be treated, but the meal had to end eventually. The food was gone, and she wished she could spend the whole day with him, but she knew that might seem too clingy, and Rob didn't need that now. He needed to see she was different from her sister, that she wouldn't hurt him like Trisha did. She noticed a car pull up, signaling it was time to leave. Maybe leaving now would make Rob miss her more. Looks like you have company, Kate said warmly, noting the change in his expression. You don't have to. I'd love to stay, Robbie, but a girl has to stay a bit mysterious, Kate said with a charming smile. His genuine smile melted her heart. Plus, I have a spa appointment. I want to look my best for tonight, she said, standing as Janet stepped out of the car. Kate, even in just a towel, you'd look amazing, Rob said, standing up to walk her to her car. Kate was speechless. It was rare for anyone to make her feel this way. She hoped Rob couldn't tell how flustered she was. But when he took her hand, she couldn't help but wonder how his lips felt. She didn't notice Janet standing nearby, not wanting to interrupt. Thank you for having breakfast with me, Kate said shyly. And thank you for bringing it, Rob replied warmly. You're welcome any time. Pulling him close, she hoped he enjoyed the hug as much as she did. I'd really like that, she whispered before kissing him. Her hands moved along his waist, feeling his warmth. When the kiss ended, she was breathless. I'll see you tonight, she stammered, fumbling for the car door. Can't wait, Rob said with a smile, watching her drive away, wondering how the night would go. Robbie, can we talk? Janet asked from behind him. About what? Rob sighed. He thought they had discussed everything last night. Please, Robbie, look at me, Janet said, moving closer. Aren't you supposed to be at work? Rob asked, turning to face her. Dad let me take a few hours off so we could talk. Just us, no one else, Janet explained. She missed the times they spent together during work hours, helping her with the company's finances and making sure everything ran smoothly. Fine talk, but don't expect much from me, Rob said, heading back inside. He knew the house needed cleaning before he could bring Kate over. He didn't want her to see the mess. I'm fine with that, as long as you listen, little brother, Janet said firmly. She understood how hard it was to deal with a cheating spouse, having faced a rough patch in her own marriage with Mark a few years back. They hadn't been close in a long time. Raising Matt and Debbie took up so much energy. One day, Mark forgot his phone at home. Being an observant wife, she knew his PIN code, even though he didn't think she did. As she cleaned the house, she heard his phone buzzing with incoming texts. Curiosity got the best of her. She picked up the phone and wished she hadn't. She cried into her pillow as she read the messages he was sending to another woman. He admitted to it when she confronted him, but he insisted it was just texts. She still felt betrayed. It took many counseling sessions and a long time before she could trust him again. She still had doubts, but it was nothing compared to what her brother had seen. She admired the self-control her brother showed that day. Janet didn't think she could be that calm if she ever walked in on Mark with another woman on their bed. Yeah, Rob muttered as he walked into the kitchen to get some trash bags. "Don't you ever air this place out?" Janet asked, opening the living room window. "Nope." "Well, I see you're getting along with Kate. I'm happy someone can make you smile again," Janet said, turning as her brother walked into the room. "Yes, so what?" Rob asked, not caring. The bag rustled as he began filling it with the bottles from his coffee table. "Nothing, Robbie. I'm just happy to see you smile," Janet said, helping him tidy up the living room. She was glad to see her brother coming out of the dark place he had been in for the past year. She knew words couldn't take away his hurt. Only time could heal that. She just wanted him to know they were there for him, that they would be there for whatever he needed. Janet just wanted the chance to be in his life, not shut out like he had done the past year. "So, did I hear something about a date?" Janet asked playfully, giggling as she saw her brother blush. She hadn't seen him blush that much since he was 13 when the neighbor girl gave him his first kiss. "I'm pleased to see you finally getting out of this house," she said, nodding when his living room looked nice again. "Robbie, why is there junk in this room?" Janet asked, confused, as she stood in the doorway leading to the master bedroom. "I turned it into a storeroom after that day," Rob said as he walked out with the full bag in his hands. "Why aren't you using—" She stopped when he shot her a look. "Right. I wouldn't want to sleep in that room if Mark did that," she said, closing the door. "Then why haven't you moved? Have you seen the market lately? I wouldn't get half of what I paid for this house if I sold it now, and I'm not becoming a landlord," Rob said, moving past his sister to tackle the kitchen. "Well, how about a double date?" Janet asked, following him into the room. "A what?" Rob asked, looking at his sister like she had grown a second head. "What?" Janet huffed, hands on her hips. "I want to know this woman's intentions. I'm not letting another one hurt you. Plus, Mark and I could use a night out." She felt a bit jealous of Kate, remembering how long it had been since Mark kissed her like Rob kissed Kate. She hoped this would bring some spark back into her and Mark's relationship, as it felt like the months before finding those texts again. "Uh-huh. Please, Robbie. I'm not asking for much. Just one night out with the four of us," Janet pleaded. "Sounds like a lot to me," Rob mumbled as he loaded the dishwasher. "Please," Janet begged, batting her eyelashes. "We'll see." Rob's car door closed as he reached Kate's parents' home around 6:50 that night. He looked in the back, noting the blanket and picnic basket, hoping Kate would like what he brought. Even though he brought a bottle of wine, he wouldn't drink much because he was driving. He hoped they could get a good spot on the lawn to enjoy the music and each other's company. Tugging on his black suit jacket, he walked to the front door. His deep blue dress shirt fit snugly to his chest. His dress pants were crisp, and his shiny shoes glinted in the porch light. Rob wanted this night to be special for Kate. He didn't know if it would go further as she lived in New York, but he wanted to make this night memorable. Taking a deep breath, he knocked on the door. "Yes." "Oh, it's you," Kate's father said as he answered the door. "You've got some nerve," he sneered. "I have no idea what you're talking about, Rick," Rob said calmly. "You know exactly what you did," Rick growled. "Knock it off, Dad." Kate's voice came from somewhere inside the house. "Don't blame Rob because Trisha can't control herself." "Kate, I will not have you talking like that in my house," Rick barked. "Then I guess I'll stay somewhere else," Kate said. Her walnut-colored hair bounced on her shoulders as she walked down the hallway. Her light blue eyes shone as Rob looked over her father's shoulder. It wasn't often she wore her contacts. Tonight was one of those nights. The diamonds and rubies of her earrings and necklace sparkled in the light. "Fine." "If you want to throw your life away on this, man," Rick said, looking angrily at Rob. "That's your choice," he added, storming out of the room. Rob was speechless as Kate stood in front of him. She wore a gray, tight dress that showed her curves. It clung to her body from her chest to her hips, stopping above her knees. Her shiny black high heels showcased her feet. The smell of her sweet perfume filled the air, making Rob feel dizzy. Wow. The words slipped from his mouth as he stared at her beauty. Do you like it? Kate asked with a playful smile, spinning around to show off her dress. Kate, you look amazing, Rob said, trying to keep his excitement in check. And you look, Kate said, her eyes traveling down his body, very handsome. Shall we go? Rob asked, offering her his arm. Yes, she replied, holding onto his arm gently. They walked towards his car together. Kate couldn't believe this was happening. She had always dreamed of this moment, and now it was real. She smiled up at him as she got into the car. She knew they had to take things slow. She wanted Rob to know she cared about him, not just about physical attraction. Checking her phone, she remembered her flight was in a few days. She booked a hotel room since her parents were being difficult and planned her next visit because this was just the beginning. Later, they sat on a blanket as the orchestra prepared for the evening's show. Thank you, Kate said sweetly as she sat down. She adjusted her dress so that no one could see her black lace underwear. She only wanted Rob to see them. She felt a thrill as she watched Rob's lips move, imagining how they would feel on her. Lightly giggling while catching crumbs from the crackers she was eating with cheese, she admired how the sunset lit up Rob's face. It felt like they were the only people in the world at that moment. Resting her head on Rob's shoulder as the stars began to appear, she felt close to him. His right hand was just above her knee, and she felt a shiver as his thumb brushed her thigh. She moved his hand slowly up her leg. Leaning closer, his hand slipped under her dress. They kissed passionately, her hand guiding his to where she wanted him. She shivered as his fingers explored her body responding to his touch. A day before Thanksgiving, for the past few weeks, Rob and Kate's relationship had been growing stronger every day. Rob had made a side trip to New York after his last-minute sales trip had wrapped up a week ago. He felt like a teenager when Kate met him at the airport gate. He stayed in the city for 2 days before heading home. Those 2 days felt magical. Kate showed him around the city, and even her office. Rob couldn't help but wonder how some of the clothes she showed him would look on her. He saw the pleased smile on her face when she glanced at his form. While they hadn't gone beyond light physical affection, that didn't bother him. He enjoyed her company. She was right. He wasn't ready for more intimate moments, especially after what her sister had done to him. Rob wanted to be ready when they did take things further. He didn't want to rush anything. He wanted the relationship to last, even if that meant taking late-night flights to see her. Rob was lounging on his couch, flipping through TV channels. Every now and then he glanced at his phone. He had texted Kate a few hours ago, but she hadn't replied. He didn't want to seem needy, especially in the early stages of their relationship. Still, he was a little worried. She usually texted back within an hour if she was busy. As he sat up, a knock came at the door. Rob wasn't expecting anyone. His family had been bugging him about visiting the next day, but he had ignored them. When he opened the door, he was surprised to find Kate standing on his porch with her bag at her feet. "Robbie!" Kate exclaimed happily and threw her arms around his neck. She planted a kiss on his lips that she had been waiting to give since her flight. "Why didn't you call? I would have picked you up," Rob said, thrilled to see her. "I wanted it to be a surprise," Kate said shyly, rubbing her shoe on the doorstep. "And judging by your face, it worked." "Of course it did. Why wouldn't it?" Rob said, pulling her in for another hug. He breathed in her scent and felt her cheek rest against his chest. Kate held him tightly. She had missed his arms around her ever since he left New York. She felt complete every time he hugged her. Holding his hands, she took a step back and smiled. How could my sister be so foolish to let go of a man like Robbie? She wondered to herself. So? Rob looked down at her bag. "You're not staying with your parents?" "Nope," Kate said with a mischievous grin. "I thought I'd stay with you. Unless you mind your girlfriend staying here?" she asked, leaning closer. "Not at all," Rob said with a smile. "I have just the room for you," he said, holding her hand as she grabbed her bag. "I like it," Kate said, looking around the master bedroom, but something felt off. "But you don't sleep here, do you?" she asked, guessing this was the room he once shared with her sister. "No." "Then I don't want it," Kate said, pouting cutely. "Well then, where will you stay?" Rob teased. Kate wrapped her arm around his waist and pulled him close. "With you, of course," she said. "I don't know if I can keep my hands to myself with you next to me all night," Rob said, his hands resting on her back. "I'll risk it," Kate said breathlessly. Rob made her feel wanted and loved. Later, after unpacking, they relaxed on the couch watching a movie neither was paying much attention to. Kate wanted his attention on her, hoping to fill the home with good memories. She shifted closer, placing his hand near her thigh. The ding of Rob's phone caught her attention, and she saw a frown form on his face. "Bad news?" Kate asked. "No, just my mom bugging me about Thanksgiving," Rob muttered. "Oh?" Kate's eyes sparkled with a mischievous idea. "I think you should go." "Why?" Rob asked, puzzled. "Well, my sister will be there, right?" Kate asked, a hint of mischief in her voice. "Probably why," Rob repeated. "Then—" She let her fingers gently run up his thigh, turning slightly so his arm rested against her chest. "You take me with you and show off your amazing girlfriend, and show Trisha that you've moved on to someone better," Kate said softly. She touched Rob's upper lip with her tongue, teasing him. She wanted her sister to know what she had lost and couldn't get back. "Oh, you sly fox," Rob replied, grinning widely. "But are you sure you want to do this? You know, I'm okay with it just being the two of us tomorrow." Those words made Kate's heart swell. She loved the idea of spending the holiday alone with him, watching him cook a meal for them. Rob was great in the kitchen, seeming like he belonged there. She wished for more of these moments in their future. "I'm sure, Robbie. I wouldn't have suggested it if I wasn't," Kate said firmly. "All right, as long as you're sure," Rob said, lightly brushing her thigh with his thumb. He called his mother's number, smiling at the thought of an interesting Thanksgiving dinner. "Robert, I didn't expect you to call since you've been avoiding my calls," his mother said, sounding a bit upset. "Well, I'm calling now, Mom. So, will we see you tomorrow? Your father was really upset you weren't here for Halloween. You know how much he enjoys it?" "Set out another plate," Rob said, not letting his mother continue her guilt trip. He looked at Kate, who nodded eagerly. "What do you mean, Robert? Are you seeing someone?" his mother asked, clearly surprised. "Yes, I am. Unless you don't want us to come," Rob said, turning the guilt back on her. "Oh, baby, I'm so happy for you. Of course, you and your girlfriend are welcome, but I must tell you, Trisha's parents will be here too. I hope that won't make you change your mind." "Hold on," Rob said, muting the call. "Your parents will be there. Do you—" His voice stopped when he saw Kate's mischievous smile. "Yeah, that will be fine," he said, as Kate squeezed his hand gently. "Oh, Robert, I'm so happy to hear that," his mother sighed with relief. "So, what time should we expect you tomorrow?" "Around 1, Rob said, and then ended the call after saying goodbye. He sighed as Kate jumped into his arms, making him smile as she giggled. That night, as Rob lay in bed waiting for Kate to return from the bathroom, he ran his hand over the empty space beside him. He realized he had made a mistake choosing Trisha as his wife. Trisha never made him feel alive like Kate did. Was this just the honeymoon phase of their relationship, or because he was so hurt after Trisha left? He didn't know. He hoped it was real and lasting. "Robbie!" Kate called from the doorway, her voice full of longing. She stood there, light framing her body. She wore a delicate outfit that barely covered her. "I take it you like the outfit?" she asked playfully as she swayed her hips. "Very much so," Rob nodded, admiring her. "Good. This will be next year's new tradition," Kate said, feeling confident as she approached the bed. She smiled, looking at Rob's bare chest. Before getting into bed, she turned and teased him by shaking her hips. "No touching," she teased. "I see," Rob said, playing along. "So I guess this would be off-limits too?" he asked, showing her his naked body. "Oh, baby," Kate said with a sigh. Every time she saw him like this, it reminded her how much they wanted each other. "Wait!" she almost shouted as she jumped onto the bed. "Let's not be too quick," Kate said as Rob started to cover himself up. "Oh?" Rob said, trying to hide his smile. "Maybe." Her hand reached out, trembling as it brushed his chest. She couldn't help but feel excited as her hand moved down his stomach. "Maybe you should punish me," Kate said softly as she moved her hand closer to him. She hoped taking it slow was good for him. Kate didn't want Rob to wake up one day and realize he didn't love her. No matter how much she wanted to be close to him, she wanted to be careful and loving. "Wouldn't that be a good punishment for teasing you?" Kate asked, gently pushing Rob onto his back. She looked down at him with affection. Rob nodded eagerly. Ever since his trip to New York, Rob had been curious about how Kate would react when he touched her with his tongue. He wondered how she would sound and move, and what she would taste like. "How do I look?" Kate asked, standing in Rob's bedroom. She wore a simple black dress that reached just below her knees. Her matching shoes made her legs look longer, and Rob couldn't stop staring as she twirled. Her dress and shawl looked classy, not over the top. Her hair was done just right, and she hoped to make a great impression, especially on her sister. Her earrings swung as she smiled at Rob, feeling a shiver of excitement. "Beautiful," Rob said plainly. "Why did you get so dressed up? It's only Thanksgiving dinner?" "Why?" Kate whispered as she walked closer to him. Her hand ran up his chest, thinking back to their shower earlier. She blushed, remembering how close they were. "Why wouldn't I want to show off my new boyfriend? And why wouldn't I want to see my sister's shocked face knowing I'm with the better man?" Kate teased, smiling near his lips. Then, he matched her smile. "We shouldn't disappoint them now, should we?" Rob asked, loving her closeness. "No, I don't think we should," Kate agreed, her blue eyes sparkling as she kissed him again. "Such a gentleman," she teased as he opened the car door for her. She blew him a kiss, happy to see him smiling so much. Watching Rob move around his car, she felt proud. She had helped him out of a tough time. She hoped her love would always guide him when he needed it, just as she hoped his love would guide her. Her eyes sparkled with affection as she slipped her hand into his while he backed out of the driveway. She kissed the back of his hand, silently telling him she would always be by his side. "It will be okay, Robbie," Kate said softly, giving his hand a gentle squeeze as they drove up to his parents' house. "I'm here. Just focus on me. Don't think about her," she said firmly, aware that seeing his brother's car was hard for him. "Why would I ever think about her when you're right here?" Rob said, noticing how her face turned bright red. "Robbie!" Kate exclaimed. "But keep saying sweet things to me," she added, fanning her face. "Kate, you're smarter, stronger, and much more beautiful than Trisha will ever be," Rob replied, loving how he could make this smart, successful woman feel flustered. Oh, look," Kate stammered, quickly opening the door to escape. Her face flushed as she heard him chuckle behind her. "Did you know you're so cute when you get all shy like this?" Rob asked, noticing her cheeks turn an even deeper red. "Well," she muttered, brushing off imaginary lint from her dress, avoiding his eyes. Putting her arm around his, she still wanted to be close to him even if he made her blush like mad. "It's not every day you hear the guy you like saying such nice things," Kate said, playfully sticking her nose in the air. She smiled broadly, her eyes widening as Rob whispered something in her ear. Her mind raced with his kind words, filling her with warmth. "Uncle Robbie." Debbie's excited shout cut through the air as her 6-year-old legs ran across the yard towards him. She hugged his legs tightly, looking up at him with happy eyes. "Robbie!" Janet, Debbie's mother, followed close behind. "I thought you weren't coming today." She sighed with joy, hugging him. Rob looked down and saw Matt's tiny hand slip into his. The little boy smiled up at him, showing how happy he was to see his uncle. "It's been a while, man," Mark, Janet's husband, said. "I bet we have you to thank for getting my stubborn little brother here," Janet said, smiling at Kate. "I might have helped a bit," Kate said, smirking at Rob. "You look stunning," Janet said, holding Kate at arm's length. She noticed her husband checking Kate out and gave him a sly look. "Janet, don't just stand there," Rob's mom called from the patio, smiling broadly. "Bring your brother over here." "Come on, you two," Janet said, grabbing Rob and Kate's hands, leading them toward the patio. "My Robert, you didn't tell me you were bringing Kate, right?" his mom asked, trying to remember her name. "You didn't say you'd bring Trisha's sister," she added, looking at Rob as she welcomed Kate. "You didn't ask," Rob said casually. "Sis!" Trisha gasped, dropping her drink as she stepped out onto the porch. Jealousy filled her eyes as she looked at Kate and then herself. She knew her plain blue jeans and sweater couldn't compete with Kate's elegant dress. Her envy was clear as she saw how Kate clung to Rob. "Brad, get a broom and dustpan," Rob's mother directed. "We don't want the kids to step in the glass." Brad couldn't stop staring at Kate. He had thought he had won by marrying Trisha, the more beautiful sister. But now, seeing Kate, he realized he had been wrong. "Right," he muttered, going inside to get the broom. He thought about how he once broke his brother's heart and how he enjoyed it. He now wondered how he could approach Kate. "Kate, what are you doing here?" Trisha asked, stepping over the broken glass. "What does it look like?" Kate replied, pressing closer to Rob as she sensed his tension. "I'm here with my boyfriend for Thanksgiving," she said, enjoying the look on her sister's face. "But we can leave if we aren't welcome." "What?" Rob's father exclaimed. "I will not have a guest in my house feel unwelcome," he said, walking towards the patio door. "Why didn't you tell us you were coming and with him?" Kate's mom asked, trying to hide her disdain. "Well, after how you acted last time I was home, I thought it best not to say anything," Kate responded, putting on airs. "Besides, Robbie is enjoying my stay at his house, aren't you, baby?" she whispered into his ear, smirking at her mother's look and her sister's anger. "Don't get mad, sis. Someone was sure to find a great guy like him," Kate said, gently touching Rob's cheek. "When you let a man like this go—" "For that," she added, glaring at Brad, who stood in the doorway holding a broom. She judged him from the moment she saw him. Kate had met enough men in New York to know his type right away. Brad stayed calm, even when his brother gave him a smug look. The tension between him and Kate was thick. It only made it more satisfying for him when he managed to win her over. "Robbie," Trisha tried to act sweet, "I know I hurt you, but did you have to go after—" "Correction, sis. I went after him," Kate said with a challenging smile. "And I must say I came out on top," she added with a wink. "Mm-hmm," Rob nodded, not caring about the discomfort on his family's faces as Kate flirted with him. Janet looked at her husband, wondering why he never spoke to her like that. Just because they were married for 7 years didn't mean she didn't want to feel desired. "Robert, come inside. The game is about to start," his father said, smiling warmly. "Go on," Kate said, lightly patting his arm. "I'll join you soon." Months had gone by since that unforgettable Thanksgiving. Christmas was just as lively for Rob. He even saw Brad with a split lip. He didn't know the cause, but Kate never left his side, calling Brad a sleaze. Rob couldn't disagree. He confronted Brad while Kate waited in the car, knocking Brad out cold when he made a rude comment about Kate. Since then, Brad stayed out of his way. Rob watched Kate as she moved on his bed. He loved how her body moved, seeing her breath quicken. They had been together since Thanksgiving, and he wondered if it was time to take their relationship to the next level. Kate was nothing like her sister. He loved how she reacted to his touch. Since Christmas, and after what her awful brother tried to do, Kate had been keeping an eye on Rob's work and sales records. She hoped she could convince him to leave his job and come work for her. Not just because he would be great for her business, but also because she wanted to be with him. Being apart was becoming too hard for her. "Okay, if you think I can do it, I don't want to hurt your business," Rob said softly. "I wouldn't have asked if I didn't think you could," Kate replied, kissing him again. "So, how long do I pack for?" Rob asked with a playful grin. "Forever and ever, I'm not letting you go," Kate said with a serious tone. She hoped everything would go as planned. If it did, Rob would only go back to his place to quit his job and pack up his stuff. Then, they could really start their life together. "I hope not," Rob chuckled as they walked into his bedroom. The engines of the private plane roared as it sped down the runway. Kate had rented a private plane because there weren't any commercial flights to the city where the big store's headquarters were. She wanted to get her products into their women's section. She took Rob's hand, flashing him a confident smile. She went over the presentation with him again and again so that he would do well in the meeting. When she was sure he knew it, she kissed him deeply. "Thank you for meeting with me," Kate said, greeting the CEO, CFO, and their VP of Sales and Marketing. Her own CFO and head of marketing sat across from them at a long wooden table. "Yes. Tell us, what can your company offer ours that we didn't hear about yesterday?" the CEO asked, looking unimpressed. "I believe I can answer that," Rob said, stepping up to the table. The two women next to Kate looked unsure, but Kate nodded to show her support. "May I?" he asked, gesturing to the PowerPoint projector. Very well, Norman, the company's CFO, said, nodding to his colleagues. As you can see here, Rob said, pointing at a graph on the wall, the amount you buy in bulk from brands like Agent Provocateur, Calvin Klein, and La Perla limits how much you can sell. Your customers might not be able to afford these products, making them stay on the shelves longer. We at Vivian's Closet of Corsets can offer cheaper, yet high-quality products that your customers will love, especially at a better price, Rob said, smiling as the men chuckled. He showed them the costs from their current vendors compared to Kate's company. Then he explained how much each piece would sell for in their stores after their markup. The men started to sit up and pay more attention. Kate nudged her marketing director, who then left the room to bring in models wearing their products. "Gentlemen, if you would." Rob nodded to the other side of the room as 3 women walked in, each in a robe. "We thought a demonstration would be more effective than just numbers," he said, as the models removed their robes. "These are from our new fall line," Kate said, sounding like a confident CEO. "Our products are cheaper, but we don't compromise on quality," she said, watching the men eye the models. Noticing, Rob's eyes stayed on her and not on the women displaying the garments. "How do they feel compared to, say, Victoria's Secret?" the CEO asked one of the models, as the thong she was wearing highlighted her figure. "They feel very nice. You hardly notice you're wearing them, but when you move, they move with you and feel very soft," the model replied, bouncing a bit to show the fit. "Don't forget those annoying wires," another model added. "These have none, and look." She glanced down at her 36D chest to emphasize her point. "They handle these little ones with ease," she laughed. "Thank you, ladies," Kate said, glancing at her marketing director to escort them out. "And you promise that if we buy from you, your product will sell better than the others?" "Look here," Rob said, pulling up a spreadsheet showing sales over the past 2 years. "See, every quarter has more and more sales." He showed a graph that tracked the rising income each quarter. Whether in the tech world or fashion, money was the same. Rob watched them thinking hard, doing mental math. He turned off the presentation when Kate nodded, signaling his part was done. He left the room so she could focus. "Robbie, you were great!" Kate squealed with joy after the meeting finished 3 hours later. She hugged him, giggling as he hugged her back. "Thanks," Rob said, a bit shy. He had mostly improvised. "You deserve it." She gave him a long, passionate kiss. "I might just steal you from your company to work for me," Kate teased. "Only if you match my commission," Rob joked. "I'll do better, I'll add 5%, Kate said seriously. "Wait, what?" Rob was surprised. "Yes, come work for me. I'm serious," Kate said, trying to hide her smile at his shocked face. "What about us dating?" "Not if we don't let it," Kate said, her lips close to his. "I told you months ago I want to take care of you. You'll do well with my team," she said, pressing herself close. "And that starts now, yes?" Rob asked playfully. "Not yet," Kate said, laughing and shaking her head. Her hand brushed his arm, knowing no one could see. "But I'll make sure you're well rewarded," she whispered. "No, I can't wait." "Good," Kate whispered before kissing him. They heard their car pull up. "But if you want to be my first—" "I know. I knew since that night on the hill," Rob said, watching her blush. "Then you won't mind that I want my first time to be special, not in a hotel," she smiled. Rob nodded. She didn't know he already realized she was a virgin. She wondered if that was why he hadn't pushed for more. She hurried to the car, excited. "Airport, now!" Kate ordered as they slid into the back seat. Her foot tapped impatiently as they headed to her penthouse. During the flight, they acted like excited teens. A thrill ran through her as Rob held her hand. He had no idea how much he was teasing her. She was ready, and only one thing would satisfy her now. Kate quickly took him to her penthouse once the elevator doors opened. She dragged him to the bedroom, a warm smile on her lips and a sparkle in her eyes. "Make yourself comfortable, Robbie. I'll be right back," Kate whispered, lightly kissing his lips. "Sure thing," Rob nodded. He unbuttoned his shirt, looking around the room. Everything had a place. He smiled at a photo of them in Central Park. "Come on, slowpoke." Kate's laugh filled the air as he tried to keep up. "Kate, slow down!" Rob yelled, eyes on her moving hips and her jeans. She knew he was looking. "Why? Don't you like the view?" Kate teased, patting her firm backside. What's the matter, Robbie? Cat got your tongue? Maybe it does, Rob nodded. Will you make it purr once it lets go? Kate asked, with a playful smirk. Always, Rob replied. He thought about what was coming next. So, where are we going? He asked, noticing her excitement. Belvedere Castle, Kate said, pointing ahead. It's beautiful there. I want to share it with you, she said dreamily, looking up at him. Then who am I to deny a beautiful woman? Rob replied, adjusting his shirt as he walked out of the bathroom. His heart beat fast. He had seen her without clothes many times, but tonight was special. Tonight, they would be closer than ever before. Rob felt tense and excited as he noticed the way she looked at him, biting her lip. My Robbie, is that just for me? Kate asked in a soft voice, her nails clicking as she rested her hands on the doorframe. Are you ready for this? She asked, moving her hands over her chest and smiling at him. Only if you're ready for what's next, Rob said kindly, reaching out to her. I've been ready for a long time, Kate said, though she was nervous. It had been so long since anyone made her feel special like Rob always did, made her feel safe and wanted as she walked towards him. She just hoped tonight wouldn't disappoint him because of her lack of experience. Relax. If you want me to stop at any time, just say so, Rob said softly. He felt her hand shake a little in his. He gently laid her on the bed, gazing into her eyes as he touched her face. She nuzzled into his hand as he softly touched her chest. He knew she was ready, but he wanted to make it memorable. He kissed down her neck, feeling her body's excitement as he reached her chest. His touch light and careful, making her shiver. Rob woke up to a warm, welcoming feeling. He looked down and saw Kate smiling up at him. I thought this would wake you, she said with a small smile. She wanted more of him and asked, So, do you feel up for round 2? For you always, Rob replied. That's what I like to hear, Kate said happily. She moved over him, knowing she had found her perfect match. After 2 days of being together, Kate asked if he still thought her offer was a joke. She pulled out a contract she had prepared. She couldn't hide her smile as she set it before him. As they rested, enjoying some orange juice, she loved the feeling of how his love had left its mark on her. They stood in their robes in her kitchen, watching him read the contract, his jaw dropping at the signing bonus her company was offering. Her heart melted when Rob signed without hesitation. Now have a safe flight and call me once you land, Kate said with a longing tone, her hand gently touching him. She wanted him back as soon as possible. Rob traveled back to the city full of memories, mostly bad ones. He knew he could rent out his place and take what he needed. As he stepped out of the elevator at his family's office, everything stopped. People stared as if seeing a ghost. He walked down the aisle toward his father's office. I have to call you back. Rob peeked into his sister Janet's office. She quickly put down her phone and jumped up. Robbie, I'm so happy to see you, Janet shouted, hugging him. It's been so long since you've been here, she said, noticing the paper in his hand. She had feared this day but couldn't blame him for wanting to leave. Pulling him close again, she said, Whatever you do, I want you to be happy, even if it means leaving us. Just promise to call and let me know you got there safely. Sure thing, sis, Rob said, patting her back. Is Dad in his office? He's in a meeting. Robert, Janet, did I hear you? Their mother walked in, her eyes wide. Look at you! You look different, she said, holding his face. Here, Rob said, handing over his resignation. What's this? Robert, are you sure? His mother asked. I'm sure, Rob nodded. He glanced at his brother's office, seeing a smug smile, thinking he had won. But Rob knew he had something much better, and his brother's opinion didn't matter anymore. While I'll miss you, I hope you find happiness, his mother said. I already have, Rob replied. It's Kate, isn't it? Janet asked, smiling at his blushing cheeks. I knew it, good for her, she said, poking her brother's stomach. You better take care of yourself. Of course. And you better invite us to the wedding if there is one, their mom said with a loving smile. At least come say goodbye to your dad before you go, she added, holding his hand. So, who convinced you to leave? Dad asked after Mom filled him in. Oh, just a company in New York run by a smart woman who sees talent, Rob said, missing Kate. I see. Dad mumbled when Mom whispered Kate's name. "I hope you find what you're looking for, son. Just remember, if you get lost, you can always come back here." With that, Rob was off to New York with all his things. His sister would take care of renting out his place. He didn't know what would happen next, but the more he drove, the better he felt. "Robbie," Kate's voice came through the car speakers. "I'm coming home." Jan Epilogue. 2 years later, Rob chased little Lexi as she ran, giggling away from him. Her light brown hair flew behind her, and her rosy cheeks lifted in a smile as he picked her up. Kate watched happily. They had gotten married a few months after he moved to New York. They had their fights, like any couple, but they always worked through them, knowing how special their bond was. "No fair," Kate said, pouting as she watched Rob blow a raspberry on Lexi's stomach. "Where's mine?" she asked with a playful smile. "Well, my lady, if you follow me into the bedroom," Rob said, wiggling his eyebrows. Before Kate could respond, her phone rang. "Hold that thought," she said, answering the call. Holding, Rob muttered, holding Lexi up. "Smart Alec," Kate muttered as she answered. "Mom, what's wrong? What? She found him doing what? She's there now?" She tried not to laugh as her mother told her how Trisha came home crying because 6 women had filed child support claims against her husband. His parents found out he was also stealing money from the company. "Well, Trisha knew what she was getting into. What do you want me to do about it?" Kate said, seeing Rob's big smile as she put the phone on speaker. "I've heard," Rob said in a cold tone. "I don't know, Dad. Lexi needs someone to watch her." "Fine, I'll do it for 20%. Rob said, letting his father talk about how good he was and how sorry they were for not seeing it sooner. "But I do it from here. This is my home now." "Darn right it is," Kate said firmly, taking Lexi from him. As the sun set, she smiled at their child, knowing this was how it was meant to be. Hey, audience! If you liked this video and want to keep up with more thrilling stories, make sure to subscribe to Prince Cheating Tales and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss out on our upcoming adventures. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next wonderful story.